I'm Chevee. Welcome to my shed. How are you today? How's life in your world? How's things where you are? Hope it's fantastic and wonderful. Everything here is great. It's Friday. I'm ready for a weekend, and I just received the prototype back, the prototype of the Viking game. And this brought up something that I wanted to talk about because I had an interaction today on Twitter. Somebody posted on Twitter today that a publisher had asked to see one of their prototypes, and another commenter said something to the effect of, prepare for 9 months of silence. And it was a bit of a poke, a bit of a jest, but at the same time not, right? Because unfortunately, that little poke, that little jest is all too true when it comes to dealing with publishers. And the story of this prototype in particular is rather different than my experiences with other prototypes and other publishers. This has only been out of my hands now for 2 weeks. You know, Gen Con was 2 weeks ago, and I've already got it back in my hands. The publisher's already played it. They've already decided it wasn't a good fit for them. And here it is, back in my house. And I'm ready to work on it again. And it feels like I didn't lose any time with it. I did. I've lost some time with it, and I would have loved to have been working on it in the days since they denied it. But that's not a fault of theirs at all. I can't, I'm not gonna blame them for that. They did something amazing. And when I said that, unfortunately 9 months of silence is the norm, it kind of is, right? And I can tell you in my years of working with Portal that the publishers are usually years out, multiple years out, like 2 to 3 years out, and very rarely does a game ever come across somebody's desk and they go, "Oh my God, I have to publish this right now," or I risk losing, steam on it or whatever. That's just not. The games just don't work that way in today's market, right? If the market exists today, the market will still be there in 2 years. So it's not there's not some sort of huge rush to shove things out the door. So publishers take their time. And unfortunately, that means that as a designer, you just kind of have to deal with the fact that the publisher's going to take their damn time with your damn prototype. And part of that is, prepping other things, getting other products ready. Part of that is trying to assemble a team. Part of that is the amount of submissions received. I know that when Ignacy comes back from Essen, he comes back with a pile of prototypes. They get a lot of submissions that are possibly worth their time, and so there are a lot of prototypes that come back. And then somebody has to sit and read the rules to those prototypes and figure out how to play them. And if you've ever looked at anybody's prototype, mine included, very rarely are they written well and easily understood on the first read-through. Very rarely do you find a designer who's put in the effort to have his rulebooks fully vetted or her rulebooks fully vetted. And so it's much more difficult than you think to sit down and play a prototype that you don't have, without having the designer there to tell you all the things you're doing wrong. So it can take time. And when you have a pile of these things, we have a dozen of these things to go through, that can take time. I've told the story before, and I'll just say it here just to put a highlight on this story. I sent my first prototype, my first published product, Scallywags, the first game that anybody published, including myself, was sent to Game Right Games in 2008. 2000, maybe even 2007. I think it was actually 2007. It was sent in 2007. And I did not hear back from that publisher for 4 years. 2011, the end of 2011 is when I heard back from them. 4 years later. Now, that being said, they didn't have the prototype. That was just my initial pitch email. I sent them a pitch email, And 4 years later, I hear back from them, and they go, "Oh my God, I'm sorry this sat in our inbox all this time. I'd love to see this game." And I went, "No problem. I haven't shown it to anybody else. I'll send it. I'll send it along." And I hadn't showed it to anybody, so it was really easy for me to send it to them. And after they got the actual prototype, they moved on it really quickly. Like they published it within a year, with less than a year. Once they saw the prototype, I heard back from them probably a couple of months later. They said, "Yes, here's a contract, here's what we'll offer," and I said, "Okay," and it was a done deal. And then something like maybe 6 months later, the game was available for purchase. And I thought at that time that was the normal way of doing things, and my experiences since have been very similar. This game went to Mayfair in 2014 and stayed with them until, I mean, technically somebody there still has my prototype. I don't know who, but it sat with them for quite a while. It sat with them for 6 months before I heard back, and part of that was because they only get together as a team every quarter, every 6 months. And so it wasn't something they could rush out and test, because at that time we didn't have Tabletop Simulator. We didn't have Zoom. We didn't have easy ways to collaborate. So it was either they make a bunch of prototypes and mail them around the world to their various, people, or they wait until they get together at one of their quarterly gatherings. So this game went through a lot of those sessions with Mayfair, where they would play it, and then 3 months later they'd play it again, and I wouldn't hear anything for months and months and months. And it's super freaking frustrating. So, for me, hearing back from this publisher within less than a week, it was like 5 days. They said, "No, we don't want it. Give me an address, I'll ship it back." I said, "Sure." Sent them my address, they shipped it back. Here it is. That's a really exceptional turnaround. And this is a very big publisher that was looking at this. So I'm really pleased. I'm really pleased with the experience. If nothing else, the idea is sound enough, or the pitch is sound enough. The pitch of a dice controlled Viking engine building game, that pitch is good enough that a major publisher wanted to look at it. And that gives me hope that I can keep working on it to turn it into something that a major publisher will look at and accept. Will it happen? I don't know. But now that I have it back, I'm ready to work on it. The only problem is, if you've been following me on Twitter, it's not a problem. This is not a problem. This is a wonderful experience. Em and I have been playing Sleeping Gods from Ryan Lockett, and it has absorbed my entire table. And it's been there for a week, and we're going to keep playing tonight and tomorrow and Sunday. We're about 4 or 5 sessions in. We've played a few turns here or there. We're a third of the way through the game. Yeah, we went through the first time through the event deck last night. So I need the table space to be able to work on this, because I'm a very visual person when it comes to stuff like this. I need to lay it all out, and I need to play with it. And right now I don't have a table. I guess I could come down here and do it, but if I'm going to come down here, I need to be working on the basement. So, got to do some reorganization. But the prototype is back, and I'm ready to start working on it again. And I'm going to, like I've said last time, or this week, I'm going to tweak version 4 a little bit. I have some cool ideas for how to make this work a little bit better. I'm going to try that. If that doesn't work, I'm going to spin up version 5, which is a radically different design, and see if that works, and then I'll weigh the two. I can tell you right off the bat, this is not going to work. It's not going to. The fixes that I have in mind are not magical fix-alls, but I think they will at least give me an idea whether this direction is the correct way to go or not, versus version 5 that I'm going to attempt. We'll see. So that's what I've got going on this weekend. What do you have going on? Do you have any games planned? Do you have any time with friends or family? Let me know in the comments. I love hearing from you. Also, what have you been playing? Sleeping Gods has been all that I've played. So let me live vicariously through you. What games are on your radar right now? Thank you for being here as always. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, being amazing friends and wonderful people. I really appreciate you. And I'll see you again tomorrow. Today's word you should know to sound smart is hypnopompic. It is an adjective meaning having to do with a semi-conscious state that precedes wakefulness. With all of her partying and exclusive clubs, Madison spends most of her life in a hypnopompic state. Hypnopompic. Hypnopompic. Yeah. Hypnopompic. It's hypnopompic. Okay. I've not heard of that one. Is that the same thing like as that semi-conscious state right before you fall asleep? I seem to always have the most wild, vivid, dreamiest ideas right before I wake up and right before I fall asleep.